All right, buckle up, because today we're taking a deep dive into some data that might just flip your assumptions about college degrees upside down.
Sounds intriguing.
Oh, it is. We're looking at almost 30 years of data from 1995 to 2024, all from the Pew Research Center. And we're not just skimming the surface.
Okay.
No, we're going to break things down by gender and by race and ethnicity to get the whole picture, because what's happening with who's earning those diplomas is pretty surprising.
Well, now I'm definitely curious.
Oh, you should be.
In the data skies, we take our flight. Trends and numbers come to life. Colors and charts, they dance and play. Showing truth in a visual way. In GenderDecoded, we uncover truths and stories like no other. In the data waves we find the secret maps of humankind.
Like if you think back, several decades to 1995,
Right.
about 25% of both men and women aged 25 to 34 had a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, things were pretty even back then.
Right. It seemed like kind of a level playing field at that point.
Yeah, that's definitely changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we fast forward, to today, the picture is completely different.
Oh, yeah.
Now, 47% of women in that age group have a bachelor's degree,
Wow.
compared to only 37% of men.
That's a big difference.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
That's a 22 percentage point jump for women versus just 12 for men.
Right.
So it's like, what's going on?
Yeah, what is happening? Well, the truth is there's no easy answer.
Right.
There's not like one single thing that's causing this,
Right.
but we can look for clues in the data,
Yeah.
and especially when we start breaking it down by race and ethnicity.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, yeah. So it's not just a general trend then, right?
Right.
There are differences between groups.
Exactly. For instance, white, black, and Hispanic women have seen really big increases in earning bachelor's degrees compared to men in those same racial and ethnic groups.
Yeah, and I noticed in the data that in 1995, young black women and men were almost equally likely to have a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, almost the same.
And now today there's a 12 percentage point difference.
That's a huge shift.
Yeah. I mean, are there certain societal or economic factors that are at play that are maybe like disproportionately affecting certain communities?
Yeah, that's really the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's complex. But it is an important point to bring up. And, while we see this gender gap for most racial and ethnic groups, there is one group that kind of stands out as being different.
Okay.
Asian Americans.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so the data shows a really different pattern for them.
Okay.
Both Asian women and men have seen really big increases in college completion in the last few decades. But their rates are a lot closer together.
Okay.
So, for example, back in 1995, both young Asian women and men had a 42% bachelor's degree attainment rate.
Wow.
And today, it's 77% for women and 71% for men.
That is fascinating. So what is going on within the Asian American community that's leading to such high rates of college completion for both men and women?
Right.
Like, are there cultural factors at play? Are there economic factors?
Maybe.
Interesting question.
Yeah, we should look into that.
For sure. But I guess kind of zooming back out for a minute to the bigger picture, even with these variations, the overall trend is clear, right?
Yeah.
Women are outpacing men when it comes to completing college.
That's right.
But the data alone doesn't really tell us why.
Yeah, we're kind of missing a piece of the puzzle there.
Yeah.
We have to dig deeper and figure out what's motivating people, what challenges they're facing.
Yeah, and why they're making the choices that they're making.
Exactly. And luckily, a 2021 Pew Research Center survey gives us some insight into that.
Okay.
It looked into the decisions people are making about higher education.
Okay. So this survey, what did it find?
Well, they asked Americans without a bachelor's degree about their reasons for not pursuing one.
Okay.
And the differences between men and women were pretty interesting.
Oh, okay. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
All right. So men were more likely to just say that they didn't want a bachelor's degree. It wasn't about access or affordability. They just didn't see it as something they needed or wanted for themselves.
So are men and women seeing the value of a college degree differently?
Maybe. On the other hand, women were more likely to say that they couldn't afford it.
Okay.
Maybe they wanted a degree, but they just felt like it was out of reach financially.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I guess that brings up some other questions too, right? Like if financial pressures are a bigger factor for women, then what does that mean for the support that's available to them? Are there kind of hidden costs or societal expectations that are impacting women's decisions in a different way than men's?
Absolutely. It's complicated. There's so many different things to think about here.
Yeah.
We can't just look at the numbers by themselves.
Right.
There's this whole web of social, economic, cultural factors.
Right.
And they're all contributing to this trend.
Yeah, it's like we're uncovering this hidden story that's like beyond just the simple statistics. It's not just men versus women.
Right.
It's about, understanding the broader context that all of this is happening in.
Exactly. And that leads to a really important question. What does this all mean for you, our listeners?
Yeah. Why should anybody care about this trend in college completion?
Well, this isn't just some, theoretical thing.
Right.
This trend is shaping the workforce. It's shaping the economy. It's shaping our social dynamics. Yeah, it's changing who's in leadership positions, what kinds of jobs are out there, even how we relate to each other.
So it's impacting all of us.
It really is. It's like a ripple effect.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to understand this trend.
Yeah.
It can help you in your own career. You can make better decisions about your future. You can understand the dynamics in your community.
Yeah, it's like being aware of the forces that are shaping the world around us.
Exactly.
So we can all adapt and thrive. And I think, this deep dive into these college completion trends, it's really just the beginning.
It is. We need to have a much larger conversation about this.
Yeah, and as we wrap up this first part, I want to leave you with a thought-provoking question to kind of ponder.
Okay.
What do you think the long-term implications of this trend are going to be? How is this shift in college completion rates going to reshape the future of education and work and just society as a whole?
What do you think? Well, it's interesting. What they found was that men were more likely to say they just didn't want a bachelor's degree. Yeah. Like it wasn't that they couldn't afford it or anything like that. They just didn't think they needed one.
Huh. So men are just like, I don't need college.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't a priority for them.
That's so interesting. Okay, what about the women?
Women were more likely to say that affordability was the main barrier.
Oh, so they wanted to go, but just couldn't afford it.
Exactly. Like maybe they wanted a degree, but just felt like it was totally out of reach.
Oh, man. That's tough. I mean, does that then mean that women have less support when it comes to paying for college?
It's hard to say for sure.
Yeah.
But it does make you wonder about, things like hidden costs or societal expectations.
Yeah.
Like, are those things having a bigger impact on women than men?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like there's this whole other layer to the story.
Definitely. It's not just about the numbers. It's about, all these complex social and economic factors.
Right. Right. This is fascinating stuff. But why does all this even matter? Like, why should we care about this trend?
Well, it matters because this trend is affecting everyone.
In what way?
I mean, it's shaping the workforce, the economy, even our social dynamics.
Really?
Think about it. It's changing who's in charge, what jobs are available, even how we interact with each other.
So it's like a ripple effect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why understanding this trend is so important.
Okay. I'm starting to see that.
I mean, it can help you figure out your own career path, make smarter decisions about your future. You can even start to understand what's going on in your own community a little better.
So it's all about being aware of how the world is changing.
Exactly. So you can kind of adapt and make the most of it.
I like that. Okay, so we've been talking a lot about this trend. But what does it all mean for the future?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is. Like, what are the long-term implications of this whole thing?
Yeah, like how is this going to change education and work and society in general?
And how will it affect, our kids and future generations?
Exactly. Those are things we need to be thinking about.
For sure. This is giving me a lot to think about. This is definitely a conversation starter.
It is. And we're just getting started.
Yeah. There's so much more to explore here.
Absolutely. We've just scratched the surface.
But it's a good start, though.
It is. We're getting people thinking, and that's what matters.
Exactly. So, listeners, what do you think about all this? Let us know your thoughts.
We want to hear from you.
It really does make you think, like what's going to happen down the road?
Yeah, for sure. Like, will we see an even bigger gap between men and women with college degrees?
Right. Or will things kind of swing back the other way?
Yeah, it's tough to say.
Yeah.
But one thing's for sure. This trend is a big deal.
Yeah.
It could totally change things.
Yeah, I think we have to be proactive about this, right?
Oh, absolutely.
We can't just wait and see what happens.
We have to be part of shaping the future.
Yeah, and make sure everyone has a fair shot.
Exactly. We need a system that works for everyone.
Right, no matter what their gender is or what their background is.
Right. And that means tackling things like the cost of college
Yeah.
and making sure everyone has access to a good education.
Yeah, and I think even challenging some of those old-fashioned ideas about gender roles.
Totally.
Yeah.
We have to look at the big picture and the systems that are in place.
Yeah, and figure out solutions that benefit all of us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that starts with understanding the problem.
Yeah, awareness is key.
Right. And that's what we're trying to do here.
Exactly. Just trying to shed some light on this whole issue.
Yeah. Start a conversation.
So to all our deep divers out there,
Yeah.
keep digging into this stuff.
Don't just take our word for it.
Do your own research.
Ask questions.
Yeah, challenge assumptions.
The more we understand
The better we can be at making good decisions.
and creating real change.
Absolutely. This deep dive has really just been like a starting point.
A jumping off point.
Yeah.
There's so much more to learn.
But hopefully it's made you curious
Yeah.
and inspired you to learn more.
Definitely.
That's what we hope for.
Yeah, we want you guys to be informed and engaged.
Because you're the ones who are going to shape the future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So keep those minds curious.
Yeah.
Deep divers. Until next time.
Keep on learning.